What prisoners eat inside Australia's toughest prisons. Food inside Australia's toughest prisons is more than just nutrition. It is a system, a routine, a form of control, and a window into the lives of thousands of inmates who experience the same meals day after day. Every tray reveals something about the structure, the stress, and the unseen challenges buried within the walls of maximum security life. The outside world often imagines chaos and danger. But inside these prisons, survival begins with something much simpler: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Before we dive in, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoy true crime stories like this, be sure to like the video, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share it with someone who'd love it too. Breakfast, the first struggle of the day. Before sunrise, the prison moves into its morning rhythm. Cold air fills the hallways as inmates receive their first meal. A scoop of plain porridge, a serving of UHT milk, and a single piece of fruit. It is basic. It is repetitive. And it rarely changes. What seems like an ordinary tray carries significant weight. For some inmates, breakfast is the only guaranteed moment of stability. For others, it becomes a quiet calculation, a decision between eating now or saving something small for later. Inside maximum security facilities, even this simple choice affects the tone of the entire day. In the outside world, breakfast might be comfort. Inside prison, it is routine, predictable, and often the first reminder that today will feel exactly like yesterday. Lunch, a window into prison life. By midday, the prison kitchen shifts into full operation. Large pots of stew, trays of rice, and batches of pasta move through the system with industrial precision. Lunch is designed to be filling, fast, and functional. Meals often include some form of chicken, beef, or vegetable stew served with rice or potatoes. Sometimes a small salad or juice accompanies it. It is structured, portioned, and controlled down to the gram. The dining environment tells its own story. Some prisons allow inmates to eat inside their cells, where the sound of cutlery against metal echoes in isolation. Others use communal dining areas, where every movement is monitored and the atmosphere remains deeply cautious. Lunch inside these facilities is not about flavor. It is about moving hundreds of people through a system with order, safety, and strict timing. The food is secondary to the structure that surrounds it. Dinner, the meal before the long night. Dinner is often heavier than the midday meal and serves as the final moment of preparation before inmates spend long hours locked inside their cells. Roast meats, mixed vegetables, rice, potatoes, or occasional fish fill the trays. A small dessert, such as pudding or yogurt, may appear, offering a rare moment of sweetness in an otherwise controlled environment. Once the cell doors close, the world becomes silent. Dinner becomes more than food. It becomes the emotional reminder of two realities: the life inside and the life on the outside that many inmates still think about while eating alone. This final meal carries the weight of the long night ahead. It is often eaten slowly, not for pleasure, but to stretch out the one moment of comfort left in the day. Night rations, surviving the hours of silence. In maximum security prisons, nighttime can stretch across 12 hours or more. To cope with this long period of confinement, inmates receive night rations, simple, limited items meant to hold them over until morning. These rations usually include slices of bread, a small packet of margarine, a tea bag, sugar, and sometimes a single biscuit. They look insignificant, but inside a locked cell, they represent control, strategy, and survival. Some inmates save the bread for emergencies. Others use the tea as a calming ritual before sleep. For many, these small items become a reminder that every hour is managed, measured, and predictable under the prison system. The outside world may see them as leftovers. Inside prison, they become essential. The canteen, the real battle for better food. Beyond the standard meals, the prison canteen offers inmates a chance to purchase additional items. Instant noodles, biscuits, tuna packets, powdered drinks, and chocolate bars become valuable commodities. These items serve multiple purposes. They supplement meals, lift morale, and sometimes form an underground economy where food becomes currency. The canteen divides inmates into groups, those who can afford extra items, and those who rely solely on the kitchen trays. This economic line shapes relationships, tensions, and the quiet power structure that develops in nearly every high-security unit. In a place where almost everything is restricted, the ability to choose what to eat, even something small, becomes a rare form of freedom. Inside the prison kitchen, where massive systems feed thousands, deep inside every maximum security facility is a kitchen that operates with the precision of a military operation. Its doors open long before sunrise. Its machinery hums even when the rest of the prison sleeps. Everything that happens here influences the mood, routine, and order of the entire prison population. Large steel ovens, boiling pots, industrial mixers, and long preparation tables create an environment where efficiency matters more than flavor. The kitchen is built to serve hundreds, sometimes thousands, of meals at the same time. Every tray must be ready on schedule. Every calorie must meet state guidelines. Every movement must be monitored. Only a select group of inmates is permitted to work here. Their behavior is reviewed. Their histories are checked. Their access is controlled, and every utensil, every blade, every tool is tracked. A single missing item can halt the entire operation and trigger an institutional search. Preparing food in prison is not just a job. It is a controlled system where safety, speed, and structure overshadow everything else. Inside these walls, the kitchen is both the heart of the facility and one of its highest security zones. Special diets, when food becomes a medical and religious necessity. Not every inmate can follow the same menu. Inside Australia's toughest prisons, special diets are regulated with strict documentation and careful monitoring. Requests for modified meals must pass through medical staff, supervisors, and kitchen managers before approval. Special diets include low-sodium meals for inmates with high blood pressure, diabetic-friendly trays, gluten-free options, vegetarian meals, religious meals such as halal and kosher options. Though the system tries to accommodate these needs, the process moves slowly. An inmate seeking a medical diet must undergo evaluations. Religious meals require verification and administrative review. Until the approval is completed, the inmate eats the standard tray offered to everyone else. These meals are prepared separately, labeled carefully, and distributed according to procedure. But mistakes still happen. A mislabeled tray, an incorrect substitution, or a portion that does not meet dietary rules. Inside a prison environment, even a small error in diet can feel enormous, because inmates have little control over what they receive. Special diets reveal one truth about prison life. Even basic needs become dependent on time, paperwork, and the ability of a system to move without delay. Safety, cleanliness, and the reality of food quality. The food served in maximum security prisons must meet health and safety regulations. Kitchens undergo inspections, storage areas are monitored, and staff members are trained to maintain hygiene standards. But the sheer scale of the operation introduces challenges. Meals are often prepared in bulk, stored in warming trays, and transported across large facilities. As a result, food may arrive lukewarm, vegetables may soften, and textures can vary from tray to tray. Cleanliness is a top priority, yet the environment is demanding. Raw ingredients must be stored at the right temperatures. Mass cooking must avoid cross-contamination. Leftovers must be handled according to strict rules. Despite best efforts, imperfections are inevitable. A piece of food may be overcooked. Another may be underseasoned. A portion may shift during transport. This is the nature of feeding hundreds of inmates under extreme time pressure and heavy security constraints. Inmates who have worked in the kitchen often describe the process as a balance between efficiency and compliance. The meals are safe. The meals are regulated. But they reflect a system built for order, not personalization or comfort. In the controlled world of prison life, the quality of food is shaped less by taste and more by logistics. The emotional weight of every meal. Food inside a maximum security prison carries emotional significance beyond its ingredients. A basic tray can trigger memories of family dinners, cultural meals, or the freedom to choose what to eat. These memories often surface quietly at unexpected moments and can shape an inmate's mindset for the rest of the day. For some, meals become a grounding ritual, the only consistent structure that never changes. For others, they serve as reminders of what has been lost: freedom, autonomy, and the ability to taste something familiar. Dinner, especially, holds emotional weight. It arrives before cells are locked for the night. After the tray is finished, only silence remains. During that silence, many inmates reflect on their decisions, their regrets, and the families waiting beyond the walls. Even the smallest dessert can bring a brief sense of relief. A carton of yogurt or a cup of pudding becomes a rare moment of sweetness in a world built on discipline and strict rules. Meals inside these prisons are more than nutritional obligations. They shape daily routines, influence mental well-being, and often define how inmates cope with the isolation of long-term confinement. Hidden realities: survival, strategy, and adaptation. Although meals are structured, inmates develop their own survival strategies around food. Saving bread for later, stretching small snacks across hours, or using canteen items to create homemade combinations becomes a quiet practice of control in an environment where choice is limited. Some inmates prepare improvised meals using hot water, bread, noodles, or powdered drinks. These creations may lack culinary refinement, but they offer a sense of ownership and comfort. Others manage their meals strategically, eating certain items at specific times to handle long nights, stressful days, or emotional lows. Food inside prison becomes a daily negotiation. A negotiation with hunger, with routine, and with the rigid systems that define every moment. Inmates adapt not because they want to, but because they must. Food conflicts: the tension inside prison dining areas. In Australia's toughest prisons, food rarely causes physical conflict, but it often triggers tension, the kind that builds quietly, subtly, and silently. Dining areas in high-security units are designed for efficiency and safety. Meals are distributed quickly. Movement is controlled. Supervision is constant. But tension forms in other ways. When trays look uneven, inmates notice. When portions vary, inmates notice. When a meal arrives colder than usual, or when a dessert appears on one tray but not another, the atmosphere can shift. The prison system is built on predictability. Any small break in routine, especially related to food, interrupts the rhythm inmates rely on for stability. Most inmates respond calmly. Others grow frustrated internally. Inside a place where freedoms are limited, emotions sometimes attach themselves to the smallest details of daily life. Food becomes symbolic, a reminder of what inmates cannot control. Meals delivered through doors or placed on metal shelves highlight the absolute authority of the institution. Conflicts rarely escalate into major incidents, but a single meal can influence mood, cooperation, or the emotional balance of a unit for an entire day. In these environments, the dining hall is not just a place to eat. It is an extension of the prison's psychological terrain. Holiday meals, a rare shift in routine. Once or twice a year, the rhythm of prison food changes. On certain holidays, national celebrations, cultural observances, or the end-of-year period, meals may include small upgrades: extra vegetables, slightly larger portions, or occasional items like roast meat, stuffing, or a dessert that is not typically part of the weekly menu. These moments are rare, carefully planned, and heavily regulated. They do not mirror outside celebrations, but they introduce a brief variation that inmates notice immediately. For some, holiday meals serve as a reminder of family gatherings and traditions. For others, they mark the passage of time, noting how many seasons have come and gone while they remain behind bars. The meal itself is not extravagant, yet its impact is emotional. It briefly disrupts the cycle of sameness. It brings a small sense of warmth into an environment built on structure and restraint. Even the smallest difference, a holiday pudding, a slightly larger roast, or a piece of fruit normally unavailable, can create the moment of quiet reflection. Holiday meals in prison are not celebrations. They're reminders. Reminders of what life once was and what it may become again someday. When prisoners refuse food, the silent form of protest. In a system where every hour is controlled, refusing a meal becomes one of the few ways inmates can express personal resistance or emotional distress. Food refusal does not always indicate anger. Often, it reflects depression, stress, or an inmate's internal struggle with confinement. When a prisoner consistently refuses meals, staff take notice, reports are written, and medical teams may become involved. Food refusal is documented because it directly affects health and safety. If it continues for several days, evaluations begin. The goal is always to ensure the inmate is physically stable and emotionally supported. Some inmates refuse a single meal to regain a sense of control. Others refuse multiple meals as a way to communicate discomfort with a situation they cannot influence. Inside maximum security prisons, where choices are scarce, the decision to refuse food becomes a quiet form of communication, one that the institution cannot ignore. How prison food is budgeted, the structure behind every tray. Every tray of food served inside Australia's toughest prisons is shaped by state budget guidelines. The system allocates a fixed cost per inmate, per day, to cover breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. This budget controls portion sizes, ingredients, variety, and meal cycles. Menus are planned weeks in advance. Bulk purchasing reduces cost. Seasonal produce shifts depending on availability and pricing. The goal is not luxury or culinary artistry. The goal is consistency, nutrition, and regulatory compliance. The scale of the operation means huge amounts of ingredients, industrial equipment, scheduled deliveries, tight storage management, strict expiry supervision. The budget influences everything, from the type of meat served to whether dessert includes a fruit cup or a simple pudding. Prison food is not designed to impress. It is designed to function, to provide energy, maintain health standards, and operate inside the limitations of a large, secure institution. Behind every tray is a carefully managed chain of decisions, numbers, and systems working to keep the routine intact. Daily life shaped through meals. In the outside world, meals are moments of choice. Breakfast at home, lunch at work, dinner with family, snacks between activities. Inside prison, meals define the structure of the entire day. The morning tray marks the beginning of movement. The midday meal signals routine and supervision. The evening tray signals the slowing of the day before long periods of confinement. Food becomes the clock. Food becomes the calendar. Food becomes the rhythm. Inmates measure time through menu cycles. They know when certain meals return. They know when seasonal produce appears. They know when the weekly dessert rotation arrives. Meals are not just nutrition. They're markers. Evidence of days passing in an environment where every day feels the same. Through food, inmates navigate monotony, find small comforts, and adapt to a lifestyle defined by repetition. Inside these walls, the simple act of eating becomes a foundation for coping with routines that rarely change. Final realities, the truth about eating behind bars. In Australia's toughest prisons, food is many things. A system built for efficiency. A routine built for stability. A necessity shaped by budget and regulation. A psychological anchor during long periods of isolation. Meals inside these facilities are simple, predictable, and designed for function over flavor. They do not reflect celebration, creativity, or personal preference. They reflect control, structure, and the realities of confinement. For inmates, food becomes a connection to routine, a piece of stability, and sometimes the only moment of comfort in a controlled world. And while the outside world might see only a tray, the people who live behind these walls know that every meal tells a story of adaptation, survival, and quiet resilience. Inside Australia's toughest prisons, food is more than a routine. It is a window into a world most people never see. A world defined not by the meals themselves, but by the structure, the silence, and the discipline that surround them. Every tray served behind these walls carries meaning. Breakfast marks the start of another controlled day. Lunch reveals the scale and efficiency of a massive institutional system. Dinner signals the long hours of confinement that follow. Even the smallest portion, a slice of bread, a tea bag, a biscuit, becomes part of a larger story about survival, adaptation, and endurance. From the kitchens that operate before dawn, to the dining rooms watched under strict security, to the inmates who stretch small snacks through the night, the story of prison food is ultimately the story of life behind bars itself. A life built on repetition, regulation, and the constant balance between physical needs and emotional weight. Food inside these prisons is not designed to be memorable. It is designed to function. It is designed to maintain order. It is designed to meet the standards set by a system where predictability is the strongest tool of control. And yet, within that simplicity, within those trays of rice, vegetables, porridge, bread, and occasional dessert, lies the quiet resilience of thousands of individuals navigating the same routine every day. Meals become landmarks in time, anchors in long stretches of confinement, and rare reminders of the outside world. Understanding what prisoners eat is not just understanding the food. It is understanding the system, the structure, the pressure, the emotional weight that comes from living in a place where almost everything is decided for you. As the doors close each night, and the final meal of the day fades into silence, we're reminded that life inside Australia's toughest prisons is shaped by more than bars and walls. It is shaped by moments as small and routine as a simple meal. Because behind every tray is a story. Behind every meal is a person. And inside these institutions, even the smallest details reveal the larger truth about confinement, survival, and the human experience within these walls.